Hello, I'm William Gallagher and this is the 58 Keys Writing Workshop set of videos. We're writers. You and I were having a chat about writing stuff. It just happens that I go first because I've got the microphone and the camera. I tell you I happen to write something and then you please pick up the pen or the keyboard and disagree with me in the comments. I don't see any advantage, any benefit to this if we don't have that conversation because I already know what I think and I'm just, waiting to hear from you. In this case, dramatisation. Actually, this is going to sound really picky. I want to just start by dramatisation versus adaptation, because it sounds like it's the same thing and people use the terms interchangeably, but there is a difference. Adaptation. If you have a famous film and you make a television version of it, you are adapting the film into TV. Okay. If you have a famous novel and you're making a film of it, you are dramatising that novel. You are taking, the novel is a non-dramatic form and you are turning it into a dramatic form. It sounds like a difference that makes no difference, but it really does, not least contractually. One of the things that the Writers Guild of America successfully fought for in its strike a couple of years ago now was the fact that there were at least some studios that would, for example, have quite liked to get AI to write the first draft of some script and then hand it over to the writer. The studio wouldn't have read that draft by the AI people. They don't care that it's AI. They don't care about anything other than this. Doing it that way around means the writer is now adapting an original piece of work. They are not writing an original piece of work and you get paid different rates for it. So it's important. But dramatisation and adaptation, let's blur the lines back again, because what I really want to talk about is taking someone else's idea and doing it, really. That sounds like plagiarism. I mean, when you're commissioned to write a dramatisation or an adaptation of something, I think there's a really interesting line here between being faithful and not being faithful, and what you're being faithful to and what you're not being faithful to. Right now, it seems quite common for people to basically take the title of something and nothing else. And the reason for that is often that it was going to be something else, but they couldn't sell it without a title that people would recognize. There's so much material out there now, particularly in television at the moment, that recognition, just even being noticed at all, let alone watched and become successful, is incredibly hard, harder than it ever has been. So a recognizable title, it helps. Recognizable IP, away off you go. But it can also just be an extreme example of the fact that a writer's been hired to adapt or dramatize something and they want to make it their own. Why wouldn't they? You're a writer. What are you going to do? Slavishly copy somebody else's work, retype it, and then send in the bill? That's an appeal to it. It has to be your work, but it has to be theirs as well. And then there's also, I just think, a practical thing that gets ignored a lot. Drama is different to fiction. I remember there are people who are watching the Harry Potter films, for example, will come out saying things like, well, in chapter 7 they didn't do this, or in chapter 9 they said that, or hang on, this is J.K. Rowling, in chapter 462 they did something differently for it. Yes, but they would. Books and novels also have the advantage that they can talk to you about how people think. They can just tell you how someone sees something. In films and television, unless you get narration, which is very tedious, you can't. You have to show us things. And that small difference is all the difference. If you want an absolutely faithful, totally faithful on-screen version of a book you love, buy the ebook and watch it on a Kindle or something like that. Otherwise, it cannot be the same for it. In fact, I think it must not be the same. What is the point of something even trying to be totally the same? Are you just trying to save people the job of reading it? I mean, let them read it, don't read it, up to them. You're creating something new, but it is based on something else. What I think is absolutely mandatory, what I think is inviolate about all this is that if you are doing this, if you are adapting or you are dramatizing, that what you are adapting or dramatizing is true to the spirit of what it is. I'm pretty sure it's Anthony Minghella who adapted things like, The Talented Mr. Ripley Patricia Highsmith's novel. I reasonably sure it's him who said that the first stage of the job was to read the novel, of course, but then to read it again and again and again. So read it over and over and over, so it's really inside you, and then put it away, never look at it even once more, and write down in your script, the things you remember from the book. The key moments, the key feelings, that's especially important to it. That's what has to go in the script for it. And I'm sure you did check details and stuff later, but that's what matters to me when I'm watching something. Except, I keep coming back to this example, I think about it a lot. There's a series of books called Fortunes of War by Olivia Manning. There's two trilogies, the Balkan trilogy and the Levant trilogy, and overall the 6 are known as Fortunes of War, and all 6 were adapted for BBC television by Alan Plater in would have been the 80s or the 90s? Can't remember. The thing with it is, well, I knew Alan, that helped. You watch these things and it is Olivia Manning's work through and through, and somehow it's also Alan's. You recognise it. What he did was imbue it with his own sensibilities, his own way of writing things, but he did not try to replace Olivia Manning's original. He didn't try to top it. He didn't change things. I mean, he had to do a lot of compression, and actually in some ways had to do a lot of expansion and stuff, but he didn't alter it for the sake of altering it. He didn't alter it in order to say, this is my version of these stories. He was faithful, I think, in all the necessary ways, and yet he was also a writer in all the necessary ways. It was his work as well. He was responsible for the TV version, and it is superb. She was responsible for the novels, and, well, actually I think the first trilogy is the best, but still, great novels for it. Where's the line between you and them? I wish there was a rule book for it. But we know, for a start, you cannot be totally faithful. It's just physically impossible. We also know that you really shouldn't take the title and make everything else totally different. Somewhere in between the two. There you go. That's not a broad spread at all. Be truthful to the material. That's all I think you can do. But then there's also this. I don't think anybody should try adapting a novel, or, excuse me, I'm mixing up the terms. They shouldn't try dramatising a novel. They shouldn't try adapting a film or other dramatic purpose things as the first thing they write, and yet people often do. Right now, that seems to really suit the industries. Film and television, yeah, I've got a great idea. I'll adapt this. There are things I would like to adapt. Margie Allingham's novels, for example. Love to do those. But I want to work on originals, and then if something else comes along, the opportunity comes along, hopefully I've learned from creating an original to doing a dramatisation. Oh, one last thought, because in my mind I was talking of television there. Take a look at the Lee Child wrote the novels. Jack Reacher. There are 2 films, and now I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 television dramatisations of it. The famous thing about the films is that Tom Cruise has been hired as Jack Reacher, and Jack Reacher in the books is this enormous man. Tom Cruise is not. I actually think he's not the problem in the films. I think he's effective enough. There are other issues in the film. There's some dialogue that's insanely bad. And I did watch the second film. I made it through the second film. There's one moment, in all of this, when Jack Reacher is in genuine jeopardy, and for some reason the film plays it as a joke for it. It's just astonishingly poor, I think. And then you watch the TV version, and the TV version has done some really clever things. I should credit the writers, but I can't remember who they are, I'm afraid, but lots of them. And what they've done is they've cast a more physically present actor, a more physically correct actor for the role, and he's also very good in it, but they've also shuffled things around. The famous example, I think, is the Jack Reacher novels are a long series. of them. There must be 20 or 30 of them now, and even dramatising one of the very earliest ones, they've brought forward a character from the later novels, a friend of Jack Reacher, to give him someone to talk to about what he's doing, someone to work with. If you know the books or you've seen the show, it's Sergeant Neely for it, and that has been so successful that Sergeant Neely, as I record this, she's getting her own, they're in production on a spin-off series just about her. Really, really well done stuff. Plus, whether or not you read the books, they're just good TV shows. That's what we want at the end, something good. Is that too much to ask for? Anyway, that's it for, became rambling again there, sorry. That's it for this 58 Keys writing workshop on dramatisation / adaptation. Tell me what you think in the comments, please, particularly if you have examples of good or bad, maybe, dramatisations and adaptations, and why. I'd be really interested in that. Do you know, YouTube videos always say that. Please tell me what you think about what your favourite brand of coffee is, or yeah, I don't know. Do you like your toast light or dark? This is a bit more serious, isn't it? You and I, writers, talking about this, and while we're doing it, we're putting off the writing. It's not why we do this, at all. While I think about that, thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself, write more, and I'll see you soon.